didn't go away to college, so meeting girls and overall socializing wasn't as spoon-fed to me as the kids who went away to party schools and prestigious universities. In my freshman year, I grew bored fairly quickly as my friend group had shrunken tremendously. Meeting people at what was basically a commuter college was next to impossible unless you joined clubs or sports. So my main source of meeting girls, at least, was Tinder and Bumble or Instagram. One day I got a follow request from some very attractive girl named Miranda. I could tell she was attractive just based off her profile picture. I requested to follow her back, and when she instantly accepted my request, I started to look through her pictures a bit to make sure it wasn't a catfish. Her profile seemed real. She had around 4,500 followers. She only followed a few hundred people, and all her pictures had a lot of likes and comments. And then she DM'd me, and my face lit up. She DM'd me saying she found me on Tinder and thought I was cute, which, yes, I had my Instagram username in my Tinder bio at the time. She also had photos posted dated back to beyond a year prior, so everything checked out on my catfish radar. We chatted in the DMs for a few days. When she posted a new picture, I liked it and commented on it as she asked me to. I just put down a couple fire emojis. She liked it, of course. I checked some of the other comments, and they were also from guys gassing her up, throwing her compliments left and right. Clearly, I wasn't the only guy talking to her, or at least trying to. Well, one night we struck up a conversation once again, still in the DMs. I told her I had the house to myself that night and figured I'd be risky and invite her over. She seemed pretty open to it. I just tried my best to keep it as lighthearted as possible. I gave her my address just to ask her how long of a drive it would be. She said 10 minutes. I then confirmed if she was coming or not, and she replied, "Yeah, I'll come." Then she asked me how old I was, and I said 18. She replied that she was 19, but this conflicted with something that I remember she replied to one of the many other men commenting on one of her posts. His comment was something like, "Damn girl, how old are you?" And she replied 25. The guy she was responding to was some bald guy who looked to be in his 50s. This got me suspicious. I started analyzing the people who were commenting on her posts a little more, and I realized they were all guys. There were no female friends of hers commenting supportive stuff that you'd see on basically any other girl's Instagram. And most of the comments seemed to be just old, creepy dudes telling her how sexy she was. I then looked for any pictures of her with other girls, maybe some friends tagged in a picture. But no, any pictures of her with other girls in it, the girls were not tagged in, and there were no comments from any of the girls in the pictures. This was starting to scream catfish, so I blocked the account. Not long after, I'm talking within 10 minutes, I started getting spammed with DMs from 3 random accounts. They all had profile pictures, but all of them had less than 50 followers. They all appeared to be fake, and they were DMing me threats about how I shouldn't have done that. I gave in and replied to one of them, and instantly, it replied back, "Unblock Miranda." I blocked that account as well, and went to unsend all my recent DMs to that Miranda account, specifically the one with my address in it. I counted myself lucky I didn't give the account my phone number or any other info. I also set my Instagram profile to private. After that ordeal, I ended up trying to get anyone else to come over and take advantage of having the house to myself, but eventually I gave up and went to bed. I have trouble sleeping 90% of the time, and this night was no exception. So after I'd say at least an hour and a half of trying to fall asleep, I heard noises from outside in the living room. Now this was in February, so it was freezing out and the heat was on full blast, so there were always ticking and clicking sounds from all the baseboard heaters. But a couple noises sounded a little different, like louder. I didn't go check though. And while each click and clack from around the house was making me look over into my dark room, making sure no one was there, I eventually somehow fell asleep. But not for long. I woke up and it was still dark in the room. I knew something woke me up, like how sometimes you hear a sound in your sleep and it's a delayed reaction before you wake up a few seconds later. Well, that's what happened here. I sat up in my bed, the clicking of the heater still filling the room. I looked in the far corner of my room, and at first I didn't believe what I was seeing. I looked closer and could see it better. There was a person in the corner of the room, and I swear I could see their grinning face. I was so scared in that moment, I got up from my bed, unable to even scream. I ran all the way outside into the snow in my bare feet, and I rang the neighbor's bell a million times. While in there, I basically cried to them that someone was in the house, and I used their phone to call 911. When police searched the entire house, they didn't find anyone. The back door and side door were both locked, and so were most of the windows. The only possibility of someone getting in would have been through one of the backyard windows, which was left unlocked. The police officers comforted me in letting me know that it may have just been a hallucination, which I learned through research can happen in the moments after just waking up for some people. Sleeping in the house alone the rest of the night was the most anxious thing I'd ever done after that, but I really won't ever know for sure if what I saw was really just a hallucination, or if, God forbid, whoever was running that Miranda Catfish account was in my house. A few months after this incident, that account was either deleted by the user or taken down by Instagram. It no longer exists. Instagram is my favorite time waster app. I spend a good chunk of my free time browsing it. I've gotten my fair share of creepy DMs. I've learned to ignore them. So when I got a notification from Instagram that some random account requested to DM me, I didn't sweat it. I did, however, just open the DM because I always do out of curiosity. The DM was a link to another Instagram profile named Perfect Always with a Z. I pressed the link and it opened this page with a bunch of pictures of girls, like young girls, seemingly varying in ages from 13 to 20. As I continued to scroll through the account, I picked up on an unsettling fact, that all the pictures seemed to have been taken in secret. Like one girl was on a school bus, one was sitting on a park bench, one was taken from behind a bush of a girl walking on a sidewalk, one was taken of a group of girls at a college campus. Expecting to find perverted comments on the posts, all I found were positive comments like "keep up the good work" and "nice." There were also some comments with random numbers, like 500, and that's it. And every single account that commented appeared to be spam accounts, like no profile pictures and no followers. It was a weird and creepy account, so I reported it and sent a link of it to my friend Allie. Then I went about my business. I was at school when all this happened, so I couldn't give it too much attention to begin with. It wasn't until after school when I got home that Allie finally texted back saying, "OMFG, who did that? That's crazy." I replied, "I know, it's so creepy." She seemed more concerned and shocked than I was expecting her to be. She replied saying, "You need to report that to the police right away." I replied back, "Why me? It's not exactly my problem." She replied back with nothing but question marks mixed with exclamation points. So I said, "Why are you freaking out?" She said, "Why don't you care about someone posting pictures of you on their Instagram?" My heart sank. I immediately rushed to click the link again and view the profile. This time there were 2 new photos uploaded to the page. One of a girl in the passenger seat of an SUV, and one a picture of me walking home. It was taken from inside a car parked on the side of the road. I remembered seeing that car, and I remembered noticing someone sitting in it. This just seemed unreal. I called Allie at once, freaking out. I told her why I didn't understand at first, and explained how some random account DM'd me the link. Allie told me to report it to Instagram and the police. I told her I reported it to Instagram already and told her to do the same. I stayed locked in my room talking to Allie for at least an hour, as I was home alone. The next time I refreshed that Instagram page, it said, "This page does not exist." First thought, okay, it blocked me, so I asked Allie to refresh it as well, and it said the same thing for her. We both used our Finsta accounts to confirm that it was removed, and it was. The account no longer appeared. I still don't know if it was taken down by Instagram or if the creator of the account deactivated it. I also have no idea what those numbers in the comments meant. Either way, it seemed like one big setup thing, and I'm scared to know any other details about what was going on with that Instagram page. This situation happened in my first year of high school. I was 15 years old and lived pretty far from school, which resulted in me taking public transportation to and from there. My Instagram was set to public back then, and I never really cared much about who followed me, which, in retrospect, being a young teen, I should have. My page was pretty standard. I was visible in most of my posts, posing by myself or with a couple of my friends for the most part. I also post a lot of my story, which for those of you who don't know, allows users to share photos and videos to their story for 24 hours. In those stories, I would sometimes include a shot of me waiting for the bus or at the subway with music playing in the background. I remember posting such one day, and randomly looking at my stories and seeing who viewed them. I had around 120 views, most of them from people I knew. One account in particular stuck out. The profile pic showed an unfamiliar middle-aged man. The selfie was taken at a weird close-up angle, like those cliché parent selfies. He had seen every one of my stories posted. I didn't really think that much of it and continued about my day. Hours later, when I was nearing sleep at around 2 a.m., I got notifications that that same man had requested to DM me, followed me, and liked all my posts. I had about 12 posts, so it wasn't a crazy amount of notifications. I opened his DM and it just said, "Hey," with a smiley face. I definitely found this crazy weird, so I didn't respond and checked his profile. His username was odd. Sam with a bunch of numbers. He only had one post, the weird angled selfie with 2 likes. I finally got a decent look at his face. He was pale and bald with dark tinted sports glasses. He seemed to be wearing a ripped white t-shirt. He had 5 followers and was following around 400 people, which mostly consisted of teenage girls, young women, and a few celebrities. Realizing what an actual creeper this guy was, I blocked him, plain and simple. In the morning, I got off the subway stop that's next to my school and took a seat on the bench in the middle of the platform to adjust my backpack. Upon doing this, I felt someone watching me. The platform was packed with people, so I thought maybe it was just my anxiety. I rose up and turned to find the now familiar middle-aged creep staring at me. His eyes were a glossy blue color, sunken and droopy. He stood a good 20 feet from me, just gawking with an angered frown. I felt the strong urge to throw up and cry at the same time. My skin prickled and my whole body filled with fear. Everything I was feeling was multiplied by 1,000 as I realized he was slowly walking towards me. No one paid him any attention, no one batted an eye, and I remember breathing hard and heavily, wishing someone would pick up on what was happening. I turned and speed walked around and past people trying to lose him, though with each step I took back, he took 2 steps forward. He was getting a lot closer to me by the second. It was all happening so fast, and I honest to God didn't know whether to continue to run or attempt to draw attention to him. I ran into a woman with a seemingly friendly face on the stairs, and that's when I decided on the ladder. I told her that guy in white is following me. As I spoke, I heard my own voice quiver, and that's when I realized how afraid and panicked I actually was. She noticed the man I was referring to at the bottom of the steps, and right away she called him out. She told him to stop following me or she'd call the police. Her shouts made him freeze as others began to stop and take note of the situation. She stood protectively in front of me, waiting for his next move. I took the opportunity to snap a quick pic of his face that I would later use to report him. In my head, all I thought was, he's not going to do anything with people watching me. He can't be that stupid. And I was right. He turned around and got on the next subway train. The woman walked me to my school, and on the way, I couldn't help but wonder how that man could have possibly found me. And then I remembered. I posted a story of the subway stop I got off. That realization alone made my skin crawl and taught me a very important lesson to never reveal your specific location to your public social media. After the woman walked me to my school, I thanked her and actually gave her a hug. I don't know what I would have done if she hadn't stepped in. I wasn't brave enough to say anything to the man, so frozen in fear, but that woman was, and I'm forever grateful for her. And I hope that if anyone is ever in her position, that they will step in and use their voice to help. The internet and social media can be a very dangerous thing. This personal experience of mine is a prime example of what I mean. I've had an Instagram account for like 7 years now. I used to post on it a lot more when I was younger. These days I really don't post at all, and I only open the app like once a day just to browse my friends' posts or whatever. Well, recently I lost my phone. I figured it was time for a new one anyway though. I did try the whole find my iPhone thing, but it said my phone was like 30 miles away. It just wasn't worth it for that old phone. Moving on, one day not too long ago, I got a DM from a kid from high school that I hadn't spoken to in years. In fact, I didn't even follow him. I peeped what he DM'd me, and it was a heads up message. He was bringing it to my attention that someone was using my pictures on a fake Instagram account. He shared the profile in question with me, so I had a look and realized he was right. There was this entire account pretending to be me, just using a different name. There were pictures I'd never even posted on Instagram before on there, pictures exclusive to my old phone. My head was spinning. I actually felt sick over this. I immediately assumed whoever found my old phone somehow bypassed the password. The account had 50 followers and it was following around 150 people. The posts all got like 5 to 10 likes, Most had no comments, but some had basic comments like a flame emoji or whatever. This account was literally pretending to be me. It had a story posted, so I went to check that, and I felt even more sick to my stomach. It was a boomerang panning from my house to my car over and over, as if they were showing off both. A boomerang is basically just a looping 2-second video that goes back and forth from one point to another. This meant whoever was doing this knew where I lived, and had any other information I may have still had on that phone. The story was posted only a few hours ago. I immediately thought to go to find my iPhone settings and turn on Lost Mode. I regretted not doing that the second I lost that phone now. When I tracked my old phone one last time, I was in for another horrible surprise. It said the location of my old phone was right outside our house somewhere. There's a lot of space between houses in our gated community, so there was no mistaking that person was still out there on the property somewhere. I turned on Lost Mode on the old phone, then ran downstairs to get my roommate Corey's attention. It seemed he was already occupied, though, by his husky barking at something in the backyard. Corey was standing by the door watching his dog. I explained in as few words as possible because I felt the situation was dire. We stepped out into the yard together to call his dog in. He was out in the grass barking rather viciously at someone or something out of sight. The dog was barely visible because it was so dark out. We went together to grab the dog by the collar, and as we got hold of him, we saw someone in the bushes run away into the patch of trees that separated our house from the next house. It was like a jump scare moment in a horror movie. That dark figure I saw run into the trees had to be the stalker pretending to be me on Instagram. I just knew it. We brought the dog inside and locked the door. You may ask, why didn't we let the dog chase down whoever it was? That's because Corey's dog is all bark, no bite. He wouldn't ever harm a fly. At some point in the middle of the night, the dog started barking again downstairs by the front door. This was very unusual behavior, so Corey and I both checked out the windows and then stepped outside. It was the most scared I had ever felt in my life, standing on the front porch, looking out into the dark night, knowing someone was out there probably watching us. We went back inside, and for the rest of the night, silence. I think whoever had my phone turned it off or smashed it after I put it in Lost Mode to avoid it being tracked any further. I say this because it would no longer update the location. I checked everywhere by the last known location, but it didn't turn up. After DMing that account that I knew who they were and was filing a report to the police, the account disappeared only a few minutes later. I don't think it was deactivated. I think it was completely deleted. My threat seemed to work. Like I said, this was recently though, and I'm still staying very aware of my surroundings. If you're looking into creating a YouTube channel of your own, but have no idea where to even start as far as learning video editing, then Skillshare may be the answer to your problem. Skillshare is an online learning community for people who want to learn pretty much any skill they want from the thousands of available educational video classes. The courses are available through subscription and are taught by industry leaders and working professionals. Some of the different class types include film and video editing, photography, music, animation, and web development. So if you aspire to be a YouTuber, or maybe you want to create your own website, but don't feel you have the skills necessary to get started doing what you're interested in, you'll undoubtedly be able to learn in a fun and effective manner through Skillshare. On top of this, Skillshare is ad-free, so you can stay in the zone and avoid distracting commercials while you're picking up new skills. New classes are added each week, so there's never a shortage of new things to learn. So click the link in the description to join, and if you're one of the first 1,000 people to join using this link, you'll get a 1-month free trial for Skillshare.